Good afternoon and welcome to Markets Today. I'm your host, Mbithe Mwema. It is the second day of trading this particular week and also the second day of the month of February. I hope the month has started off on a good and high note, but we want to take a look at what was happening last month so that we can be able to articulate your investment goals or at least your considerations for the next couple of weeks before we call it another end month. We'll start off with what was happening on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. We will be looking at the parameters, largely looking at the indices and who are the top gainers, top losers, as well as what was happening with regards to volumes. By virtue of volumes, turnover was down 13% yesterday compared to Friday to close at 532 million. What has been happening over the last couple of days, we have seen the foreign investors turn into net sellers across board on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. What do we mean by turning net sellers? What we are saying is that the foreign investors tend to determine the direction of equities. When we say they are net sellers, it means that they are selling more than they are buying, and it could always be a precursor to a bit of market weakening in the coming or subsequent trading sessions. Let's take a look at the key parameters, starting off with the indices to see what happened yesterday on the NSE. All the indices were in the red. NSE All Share was down 1.8 percentage points to close the day at 153. The NSE 20 share lost 7 percentage points to 1,874, whereas the NSE 25 share index lost 22 percentage points to close the day at 3,412. Let's take a look at what was happening with regards to turnover, which was down 13% compared to last week's trading close on Friday. Let's see what was happening on the turnover sheet, which is coming up your way shortly. You can see a bit of up and down movement over the last 5 days or so. Yesterday, we closed down at 532. That's the purple column that you are looking at. That's Monday, the 1st of February, 532. We had a bit of a peak last week on the 22nd, where we jumped the 700 million mark. And we did see a key trade go through there for Kenya Re. Safaricom has been dominating activity over the last couple of days. Nonetheless, this was still the case yesterday. Let's take a look at who the top movers were by virtue of turnover as well as volume. Safaricom, as expected, a dominated trade. 10 million shares were traded over the day. We are seeing a bit of price weakening. It's now at 35. It had traded at about 37, slightly above 37 shillings per share earlier last week. We are seeing a bit of weakness, foreigners taking profit at these levels. Equity Group has been gaining momentum. It's now at 37.2 shillings per share with 1.3 million shares traded yesterday. The better part of January, this stock was trading at about 36 shillings per share. It is trending up, and it's trending up at a time when the local press is actually coming out with reports saying that the banks are likely to report their worst set of earnings last seen over the last 8 years, so to speak. KCB also trading up at range bound at 36.25. Cooperative has been a star performer. It's already up to 12.5. That's almost 10 percentage gain over the last 1 month alone. British America Tobacco was at 408.5. Let's see who the movers were by virtue of volume. By volume, we have it there. Safaricom was the top traded stock for the day, 10.6 million. Cooperative Bank, 2.7. The interesting thing that we do see with Cooperative Bank is at the year end, when they're about to report their full year numbers, we tend to see a bit of activity just ahead of the full year numbers, and we tend to see a bit of price appreciation. So this period is no different. It's now at 12.5. We want to see maybe there could be a bit more price appreciation ahead of the full year numbers, which are expected sometime in March. Equity Group up traded 1.3 million, KCB 1.2 million, and Kengen 354.7 thousand shares. Let's take a look at who are the top gainers as well as the top losers over the day. By virtue of the top gainers, we did see Kenya Power gain a bit of ground yesterday, up 7.3 percentage points to close the day at 1.6 shillings per share. Umeme was also up there. That's the equivalent of Kenya Power, but in Uganda, it gained 4.5 percentage points to 6.96. Uchumi gained a bit of ground, up 3 percentage points to 29 cents, whereas Equity Group was up 1.92 percentage points to 37.2. And interestingly, East African breweries regained a bit of the losses that it had lost ground to last week. It's now up 1.67 percentage points to 152, having touched a low of 148 last week. Holding off on the East African point there, we did see this company report its half-year numbers last week on Friday. Earnings were down 47 percentage points, with the management team alluding to a one-off tax payment that they had to make in lieu of its operations. Looking at the core operations, turnover was actually down 6 percentage points, and we did see an improvement in the markets of Uganda as well as Tanzania. It does look like the investor sentiment is turning on this particular stock because on the top line, they are reporting good numbers. The issue is just on the bottom line where they had to contend with a one-off over the last reporting period. Let's take a look at who the top losers for the day were. Top losers there is the small caps dominating activity. We had Olympia Capital down 8.3 percentage points to 2.2 shillings. The surprise mover there was Diamond Trust Bank, which lost 8 percentage points to 70 shillings per share. Sydney, TransCentury and Home Africa Group all lost 4.7, 3.6 and 3.1 percentage points respectively. That's pretty much what was happening on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. It's about to close, but we will be able to give you an overview of how it did perform for the day. We take a break. When we come back, we will be joined by Mr. Martin Mwerege, who is a senior analyst at Standard Investment Bank. We will be discussing what happened in the month of January and what are some of the names that you need to pay attention to when it comes to the month of February on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Before we take the break, I want you to know that our SMS line is 20146 and we want to invite you to talk to us. What were your money moves in the month of January? What will be your money moves in the month of love, February? Are you loving on your money? Are you planning about it? And are you thinking about some returns? Let's take a look at who are the top gainers were for the month of January and where we possibly see opportunities in the month of February after the break. But keep the conversation live. That's at Metropole TV on Instagram, Facebook or Twitter. Or you could reach out to me. That's at Mbithe Mwema on the same platforms, Twitter, Instagram or Facebook. I would like to hear your thoughts and continue this conversation when we come back after the break. See you in a few.